Hi, my name is Divij. I'm 39. I'm a banker in Singapore. I've known Pankaj for almost 6 years now, 2013 in fact. And I went to him first because I was suffering from chronic migraine attacks. These migraine attacks is something that had been with me for several years, but the preceding 6 months had just seen them get a lot worse in terms of the intensity and the frequency. So much so that it was really having a lot of impact on my day-to-day life, not only at work but also at home as well. I was on a lot of medication for the pain just to get through the work week, and then when I'd be at home, I found that I had very depressed energy levels. I was listless, irritable, and my wife tells me I was no fun to be around. So when I went to Pankaj, I remember in our very first private session that we had, I walked into the room, and the first thing he pointed out was immediately, he asked me, he said, what have you done to your knee? It seems you've hurt your knee. Now, I hadn't mentioned anything to Pankaj about this, and there was no limping. I was walking perfectly fine. But I had actually been suffering from a lot of pain in my right knee for the preceding few months because of a fall I had. It wasn't a bad fall, but the pain that I was feeling was something a lot worse than it should have been. It was even very difficult for me to tie my shoelaces. I'd have to keep my legs straight and then bend down and tie my shoelaces. Anyway, so I told Pankaj I'd hurt myself, and I was also very curious to how he knew, and he said he would talk to me about that later. The focus of the session was to spend time about my migraine. I did a few sessions with Pankaj around this, and I felt an immediate relief. I was feeling lighter in the head. I was feeling a little bit more energetic and a little less wired up inside. We spent at least a few weeks on these one-on-one sessions, and then shortly thereafter, I took his basic workshop called Live the Life You Want. It's incredible how apt that life is, because at that time there was a lot of things that I just wanted to get sorted out for myself. So in a combination of these sessions with Pankaj, I found myself learning how to do a number of different techniques from him. And Pankaj has used his experience as a healer from many different disciplines, but he's put it into such a powerful yet easy to explain methodology, and we just call it the Pankaj method because that's truly what it is. It's not just one particular type of healing that he's doing. So I got very well versed in this technique, and what I enjoyed about it was it empowered me to use his methodology on working on various aspects for myself. One of the things that I wanted to work on was a couple of phobias that I had. I won't go into too many details, but one of them was a crippling fear I had of the water, in particular swimming pools and the sea. I literally would not be able to go in. With Pankaj's method, I found myself able to, at least for me, in one setting on my own, clear my phobia of the water. So much so that it's within a week, I was able to go swimming in the pool downstairs. I was able to take my boys to a holiday in Phuket, where I trusted myself completely with my then 1-year-old son, in the sea. We were swimming into caves of one of the islands just outside of Thailand. And so it was an incredible shift. And what I noticed also at the same time, this is now probably 3 months after I'd started already seeing Pankaj, is that my migraines had not really returned. What was happening then was the case where my energy level I'd noticed was significantly higher because of clearing off these pains and aches. It also was not only higher but consistently remained at a more elevated level after working on my phobias as well, one of which I've just walked you through. And when I was at this elevated state, I realized that there were a lot of shifts that were happening around. There's a lot, it's sometimes difficult to articulate, but it's like things started flowing a lot more easier for me. Because, and this is one thing that Pankaj always maintains to this day, and it's something I have seen with my own eyes, experienced with my own self, that if you work to heal yourself correctly, clear your blocks, clear your fears, work on your phobias, one of the initial things is that you will notice an immediate ease and effortlessness in various aspects around you. From your personal side, for me, it impacted not only my personal side and improved my relationship with my wife and my children, but also in terms of my career. For me, it was a transformational change. I went through a 3-year patch where, after being 7 years in one particular role, I was seeing multiple promotion opportunities happening in a very short period of time. So my career really suddenly took off. With that, your grade changes, your income improves also. So it was a very positive shift, and this is something that Pankaj had always been telling me about, and I didn't quite believe it till I went through it myself. So it's a tremendously powerful methodology that he works with. It's helped me with my migraines. Now 6 years, as I mentioned, have passed since I've known Pankaj, and my migraines since back then, when I started with him, are down about 95%. And even when they do occur, it could be either very light medication, or if I have a little bit of time, I have the tools and the technique and the method I've learned from Pankaj to actually deal with it even without medication. So that's a huge shift. The pain that I had in my knee that I talked about earlier, in my very first basic workshop, he cleared that in about 5 minutes, to the point that I was actually sitting cross-legged on the sofa, and being a person who couldn't even bend down to tie a shoelace just the day before. It's a huge shift. And 6 years on, this pain hasn't come back. So all I'm saying is this: go in with an open mind. Do not put any limitations in terms of what you want to achieve. It can be the smallest thing, it can be the biggest thing. It can be an emotion, it can be a fear, it can be a pain, it can be your career. But my personal view is that if you speak to Pankaj and have an open conversation with him, you'd be surprised at the way in which he would be able to help you live the life you want. Thank you.